Hey, Jamie. I'm just back from this really beautiful, wet spring walk run that I gave to myself. I could be, already getting down to work. It's a creative day where I work at home, but especially after our late night, I slept in this morning instead of doing my usual movement before the boys wake up. And I'm grateful that I then just rescheduled something later and I said, I want to go outside and move my body. And something came to me, a piece that I really was reflecting on afterwards on our conversation, which I'm kind of waiting for the vulnerability hangover to kick in, maybe when it comes out, or maybe the fear of what it would feel like was nothing like how it actually was, in part because it was with you, and because, like, maybe it's just an old story that I'm not ready to talk about sex. Isn't that? Anyway, um, and I was thinking a lot about how you were saying, what you shared so beautifully about your relationship history and the number of people you felt really that like safe, secure feeling with. And I was thinking about how um, sometimes, well, a thing that is a true way to tell the story of, you know, how I came to be with Francis. And something that came up sort of like earlier on in the relationship. There'd be times where people, like friends or people in my life, would say like, "Oh, like, I don't see that you guys have as much in common. Like, what do you see in him, or like, what do you get out of the relationship?" Not like, I think because there's this thing, and maybe I don't know if it's you would relate, but there's this notion, at least in some of my friend circles, of like, you know, you have to like the same things to be compatible. And I was more like into like indie music and indie movies. And I was both into those and just like trying to fit in with friends. Like that combo, like I was both like, these are good, but also like, maybe I don't mind mainstream stuff and I will discover that later. Francis likes not like he's not like a cool indie loving boy or whatever, and not such a pop culture nerd, or like some of the things that were kind of core tenets to some of like my main ways I related to people in my life. So they're like, then they meet Francis and he like likes Oasis, which is not that, but just when you're young and you think that what you like matters the most. You know what I'm saying? And so the thing I remember articulating clearly to two people, like a good friend and to one of my sisters, when they asked me that question of like, I don't like, like, what do you see in him? Or like, that kind of thing. Um, and I just said, like, when I'm with him, I feel so peaceful. And thinking about that now, I think like the main thing, like, and honestly, the way I would think about it in my head is like, this is a guy that will never cheat on me. And beyond that, like, he's not going to leave me. Like, it was clear from the start, like, he wanted a partner. He wanted, like, we were together, like, very brief period of time. And he was like, so can I call you my girlfriend? Like, he wanted to be partnered. And so he, just in terms of that type of safety and security, and it was its own version because it wasn't like, no, did I even know about attachment theory? And certainly we have worked through a lot of patterns of what you could call like the different kinds of insecure attachment, and ripples still remain. But there was something about the safety of, say, him saying like, I'm going to choose you and I want this, period, you know? And so it was actually an early version, I'm now realizing, of like kind of what I talked about in the Substack of like other areas of life that I I get to like be the boss or hold the reins. And it wasn't so explicit like that, but it was just this sense of the relationship. And there were other ways in which, like, still I was on my journey of even knowing what I wanted and to not spend tons of my time just thinking of like, how can I make him happy? But it wasn't like, how can I make him happy so he doesn't leave me? Or even if I thought that, I had this other level of knowing like, he's not going to leave me. I just want to make him happy. So he's happy with me. Therefore I can be happy. Does any of this make sense? I have no idea. Anyway, so that just really struck me. And now all these years later, as unformed as we were, and as much as we had to learn, and as tricky and young, like I want immature, I guess, but like ways in which we've related and that we've grown out of and into ways that feel more authentic and real, because also we know ourselves better and we know each other better. Like, but I can't, like, that was such a fascinating place to begin, And so then I wrote this thing when I came home from the run that was about that. And so now I'm just going to read it to you. Maybe he wanted a girlfriend before he wanted me. Maybe he wanted a wife without really doing his homework on what that meant and who was accepting the job from his proposal. And maybe that could mean it all means less, but for me, it meant enough. It meant safety. It meant security. It meant peace. It meant solid ground. It meant a man who never cheats. It meant a man who would never leave. It meant a man where I was the only one holding the ripcord. Of course, life laughs at guarantees, throwing in a near-death experience or two to remind me I could still be left on someone else's terms. But those still feel like an acceptable terms for a lifetime warranty. Inside this solid structure, I could have sunk into the role. At times, I couldn't stand him because of who I thought I had to be to stay his good wife. But the utterly astonishing and beautiful thing is each time I said enough and divorced that old version of marriage in my mind, he was ready and waiting beyond the threshold of that house, still readily accepting the me I had become next. We've grown together both up and out in parallel, but also down into the earth, our roots utterly intertwined, holding each other steady through the wind and the rain. We have 2 saplings now growing up in our midst, further anchors to our interconnectedness, even as their presence also leaves our growth a little crowded at times. At times, I do wonder if I'm meant to have different partners, play different roles in other lovers' lives. Won't I miss out if I haven't sowed my wild oats? So I wave to the parallel universes in which I have all the lovers, all the jobs, become an astronaut, a ballerina, marry a woman, stay single forever, and I can marvel at all the me's I might have been, and then sink back into this actual real life I'm living, where I cannot imagine anyone but him as my partner, collaborator, friend, lover. I chose the safe option. I have no regrets about that. I think that's it, Jamie. Love you. Thanks again for being a sex talk girlfriend. And also, happy birthday, because I'm sending this to you on your birthday whenever you end up reading it. I hope it's a beautiful, fabulous, delicious day. Bye.
My goodness, Joan. What an absolutely gorgeous piece of writing. And what absolute coincidental, serendipitous, astoundingly appropriate timing for you to write and share that with me. I mean, you wrote it for yourself, but I am just so grateful that you shared that with me and with our whole audience. And what I didn't know, what neither one of us could have possibly known, is that you shared that beautiful piece of writing about commitment, like decision, both eyes open. I am here on purpose. You shared that with me like mere hours before I got engaged, which is so stunning because, I had just shared with you about like my story of I sowed some oats, bro. I really sowed them. After our conversation, I went ahead and I was like, wait, let me look at that list of like all the men I've had sex with, and it's long. I won't tell you how many people are on it. But it's a substantial list. There are tens of multiple tens of names on that list. And, with what I shared with you about how when it comes to safety and security and attunement and presence, that list dwindles down to 3. And what I see abundantly clearly now is 2 of those 3 were meant to prepare me and even more fine-tune me for 1. And the way that I got to listen to that beautiful piece of writing was just so specific to my own life experience. So thank you for sharing that. It also reminded me of my poem that I mentioned in our part 2 EA After Dark conversation. The poem that I wrote about my European travels, but really it was about this process of like finding myself through, finding access to my own lovability within myself. And I remembered that the very first line of that poem is pleasure started off small. I was like, oh my God, it's a direct reference to pleasure. So I have to share it now. I'm not going to share it here now. I'm going to, because it is quite sensitive for me and precious to me. By the time this episode is out, it will be on Substack behind a paywall. If anyone would like to read it, I think it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever written. Well, I've been asked a good handful of times by people on the internet and people in my life about what does this engagement mean? What does this move towards commitment and marriage and this type of partnership mean? Like this sort of construct, what does a move in the direction of alignment with this kind of construct mean for someone who has identified as polyamorous for quite some time now? And I don't really know how much I want to say about that here and now, because once again, I am really feeling like by the time this episode airs, I will have written something about this, because I was asked this so many times that I was like, I think maybe I should write something. So I told everyone who asked me, like, thank you so much for asking me this question. It's making me realize that I want to distill my thoughts into like an essay or a post, and then I will share it. Apart from this rainy walk that I'm on right now with my dog, I've been like mostly cooped up inside all day, looking at a screen, tending to our Substack and getting things prepared for this season. Also working on stuff for the Refuge Retreat that I'm co-facilitating, co-leading with my dear friend Lindsay in October. We're putting together some workshops here in Bellingham about personal responsibility as a healing practice. So there's just like a lot of really cool parts and pieces in motion right now, and I'm feeling really good and really excited about all of them. And I'm also glad to not be looking at a screen right now anymore. So I'll end this here for now. I love you very much, and I'm looking forward to hearing how you are doing in your next voice memo. Bye.
Hey, Jamie. I'm out for a brisk walk on a beautiful spring day, finally turning into spring halfway through May here. It's been a weird weather up and down thing in Ontario. And I loved everything you just shared about your engagement. I'm so excited for you, and not in a way that means like, because there's a way you can be excited. It's like, well, finally the relationship's meeting that next step milestone, or you know what I mean? Like that. No, I didn't even know if we've never talked about it. So I didn't know if like engagement and marriage is something that you were interested in or not. It's not needed per se, but also, oh my goodness, like
I also think it's like so beautiful because I'm aware it's not necessarily something that like you conceptually are like, I need this to move to the next step. And that sort of like, the patriarchal, rigid sequence of events. It makes it more special that it's something that you entire like, we want this. And then the way that Ty like co-designed that ring. And like when I saw that ring, I'm like, that's a Jamie ring. I don't know what you want to tell me. Like that's like, oh my goodness. So I just like everything about it just feels so romantic. I also feel like two of my long distance besties, you and Taylor Swift, are both engaged at the same time, which obviously only one of them knows I exist. But I just feel excited for you both, though I feel more excited for you because I actually do know you. That feels very fun with your beautiful rings. And it's just all, love is in the air, spring is blooming, something's happening. And it was really wild. Like, I was just really struck by this, like, really like sense of like, it felt very like that piece of writing I shared with you. It felt very like romantic and very like that core of like the romantic love I have for Francis, and then like the next thing I got back from you was like I'm engaged, and it just felt like what totally. So having you then listen to it and then like resonate with it, like that's very cool. And like I when I got the photos and you shared that you're engaged, and thinking about like how we were just very deeply reflecting on how meaningful your relationship with Ty is, like the night before. Just how cool that is, with no idea that this is what was happening. Like, come on. I love that stuff. It's so good. And then it's like the thing I find most beautiful about the like journey of marriage according to me and marriage according to what it's meant for me, and like kind of deciding and claiming and co-creating with Francis like what our marriage looks like, has been the choice element, the choice, like the idea of a singular soulmate or the one doesn't resonate. And there's like something transformational about choosing a one, you know, and choosing it wide open, including when you find parts of you. Like one of the things I put in my writing that's been like, I've had several distinct moments over the course of our marriage where I have like mentally, I've been like, just like by myself in a moment of reflection, and often like a moment of angst and uncertainty and confusion. I've been like, okay, brain, body, whoever is having the trouble, you're saying that you don't think you can continue in this marriage because X. So we are going to divorce ourselves from that version of him. But it's honestly, it's more that version of me, and the me I think I have to be to stay with him. That's what, like, I remember one, and like, I don't want to call it silly because it's real and it's like because of socialized conditioning, but it was like, I was feeling really irritated that I always had to do something about the dishes. And like, I can't even honestly remember what it was. It was a little while ago. And I was like, oh, and this is so, I'm just like trapped in this thing where I have to always do the dishes in this way or something. And I was like, okay, well, like, let's stop doing the dishes in this way that I hate and just divorce. We're going to divorce that version of the marriage. And we'll let Francis know. And like, guess what? He didn't even care, and it wasn't his expectation. Like so many, this isn't like a thing where like this guy is like, you have to do this or I'm going to divorce you. Like he's literally, has he ever said you have to do this? I don't, sometimes he's asked me things, but like, it's not like, there's been so much like of the conditioning I brought into the relationship where it's like, he once offhandedly like mentions a preference and I'm like, oh my God, I have to always do it that way. Or, and that's like, no, you don't. So like, I've like been divorced many times, if you will, but there's all been like divorcing versions of like capital G good, capital W wife, like, and instead just thinking further into myself. And a beautiful thing has happened where as I've done that, he has met me there. And then as he has shifted, and it's kind of incredible and miraculous, because part of the choice is, say we really started to, evolve in directions that were just not compatible for whatever reason. We couldn't find a way to creatively make it work or something. I think because we love each other, we wouldn't want to try and keep doing that. But like, it's never even come close to that. There's so much space actually to shift and become more myself, and for him become more himself, and for this thing to work. And part of that is, I think, just that deep intuition I had, this sense of peace I had, that this was a person who, I don't even know, it's not like this checklist was like wanted the same things enough, though a bit of it was that, it wasn't like he's like, yeah, I never want to have a home base and I never want to have kids and something like that, where you're like, well, I know I want those things, so there's that. But I don't know, it was like this sense of, and I will say like peace, space. There was a sense of like, we're going to like travel through this life together and be a support and help and like partner to each other. And that was like the main commitment, and so anyway, I just got like lost again. Like romance and marriage. It's just so cool that that's what it is. And I think everyone's marriage is going to look very different because it's two unique human beings who are co-creating whatever they're co-creating. And maybe, like you say, it's not always two. And like, that's wonderful. Like, of course, that it's just when there's like sort of restrictive, typically necessarily disembodying ideals of what marriage looks like, that I find very sad. But like inside of it, like partnering with another person through life is a wonderful thing. And of course, it's not even only the best or only thing, but it is an absolutely wonderful thing. And for me, it's certainly the best thing I've discovered so far, So that's what I want to say about that. I do want to share a story with you that happened yesterday at clinic that I need to share in a way that doesn't like identify enough details that, like, say if the patient ever heard it, they could like identify themselves, which means it's going to sound kind of vague. And if you're like, oh, I want to hear more about like the specific details, I feel I would be more comfortable sharing a few more specific details without it actually breaking confidentiality if it's not like recorded media. So I can tell you later. But here's the vague version. So yesterday I had someone put into my schedule who was having more of like an urgent issue, not something that was going to threaten their life, but it was like an urgent issue causing deep discomfort with a part of their body that had happened quite suddenly. And it's a kind of urgent issue that often doesn't come into the clinic setting because they either like sort of sort it out at home or they go to emerge for it. But they were put into my schedule with it. And it's something that, like, though I remember vaguely getting some training on some ways to do it, again, in the emerge setting, I haven't done that for a very, very long time, obviously, and never done it in the clinic setting. And I could feel like this like anxious, like kind of imposter syndrome of like, gosh, I haven't done this before, but this person's here. And, if it doesn't work out, they can go to emerge, but, emerge is long waits. Emerge is, even for the system, emerge is more expensive, time expensive for this person. And this person had experienced this issue before many times, and sometimes even is able to help itself resolve, but this time couldn't. And so I did say out the thing that I just want to kind of name and celebrate is, first, I didn't even try to be anything other than myself in that room, which included me being like, okay, I haven't done this in a long time, never done it in this setting, just so you know. And though that, like, honestly, I think that was important kind of informed consent for the other person to understand and either agree to or not. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I know what I'm doing. So we were like very much co-creating how to help this person with their issue. They were like, we did some breathing together. We tried a few things, but kind of like the way for this to resolve, the wisdom that this person already knew and had experience with, and that I also had a hypothesis that matched, was they would need to sort of relax in order for the thing to self-resolve. Like the relaxed nervous system and relaxed muscle. And we tried to do some like kind of just co-regulation things, but it wasn't working. And so I like went and got like a single dose of a medicine that helps you relax. And again, even like, it's less about the details of the specifics I did, but more like the energy I was bringing to it of like, this is here to help your body do what we know your body needs to do, that your body's done before. This is, you may feel these effects from this medicine, and we already had ahead of time like the plan of how, say, the person would get home if they were experiencing the side effects too strongly, they wouldn't drive, blah, blah, blah. And so it just felt very, honestly, kind of ceremonial, actually, now that I think about it, of just like going through each step, but like not in a way where I knew the steps. Like we were discovering each step as it happened. We were like creating it together. And so then got the medicine. In theory, that medicine should have taken like 30 minutes to take effect. And yet in that beautiful way where, maybe it hit this person stronger, as well as placebo effect is a real literal thing. Like it literally impacts the body, right? They were able to start to relax. And then like, I was helping I had my hands on the part of the body that was having the difficulty, and I felt the change that needed to happen. And it felt like a flower blooming. I was like, whoa. Like it wasn't like this big aggressive shift. And they were still unsure, and that was good. So I wasn't going to convince them, even though I had this instinct, I think it is good. They still had to figure it out. So they took like a few more beats, and then they had their own realization of like, it's okay. Like it's resolved. And like, they had this like moment of relief, of course. And I mean, that's kind of the main thing I wanted to share is sort of like, this beautiful relationship with my body. And certainly at multiple points, especially near the beginning where I was still having a lot of like, I don't know if I can help. I don't know what to do. I don't have the expertise. I haven't done this before. I just like sat with my body and like, body, what do you know? And then my body was like, presence, relax, like kind of the obvious things. Like I really relied on my body to help me understand what this person and their body needed. And they told me to. And it was just like, we like created this thing together. And it was so amazing. It was a rush. Like I had adrenaline after, but part because I was like so nervous, and then it became something good. But it also, I can't, like the feeling of the body sorting the body out in this person, like it literally felt like a flower bloom. Like it felt like this incredible, amazing miracle thing that is like, the common miracle that happens all the time, that it is a body, So anyway, I had to share that with you. And a bit of that is, and, in the spirit of actually this concept I'm thinking of, you can disagree or add to, but like, I do think our next season could be about creation and creativity and just, it kind of follows. We're doing this arc, right? Like we started with body, then death, then infinite possibility. So what happens before, then pleasure, which is ideally, the portal through which we are created, each of us conceived, right? And this, I think I have so much to say about creativity, about creation, about co-creation, which is like what really happened here. We could talk about like pregnancy, if you talk about stem cells. I never got to talk about stem cells yet. So I have ideas related to that. And really, it's so meta, but like this whole project has been this creation, and we're still learning about that. So that's also my proposal for next season. if you choose to accept, it may then therefore be what we talk about in our next episode, which we do not know yet, what we're talking about in our final episode, which has always been the case. So let me know what you think about that. Congrats again on the engagement. So excited for you. Actually, I was just thinking, so when Taylor Swift posted that they had gotten engaged, she said, like, your favorite English teacher is marrying your favorite gym teacher. And I'm just picturing, like, if you had done a similar caption, it would be like, what would it be? Your favorite medicine woman, your favorite like body facilitator, is marrying your favorite cacao maker. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think that just came to me and I thought I'd share. All right, Jamie, love you so much. Bye.
Hello, Joan. I'm on a walk right now. Just taking a little break from my office in between sessions. As you might be able to hear from my voice, I had some symptoms that I was dealing with, and they really took me out. I was pretty non-functional for the majority of last week, and it was really like the first time maybe in my life that I just allowed myself to be feeling the way I was feeling, and didn't try to just like half work anyway. I was like pretty quickly on that first day, I was like, what exactly would be the point of that? Because I'm not going to get anything good done because I can barely function. So I just rested and I read and I did write a little and I just kind of let myself be a person. It was nice. And also it started to get pretty boring. So having 5 sessions in 2 days now that I have way more energy and I'm pretty much through it. It feels really good. But I wanted to take a moment and respond to your most recent voice memo that you sent, which now is not that recent, but it is the most recent. I think you sent it like over a week ago. But that story that you told was just so, again, just like so delightful and so true. Also, it's just like so, I know this from my own personal experience, like that is just such a true way. Like I really don't know any other word, but like that's just such a true way of explaining, expressing what can happen, what does happen when we allow ourselves to drop into that space of like surrendered, and in some sense confident, but not like confident in our own ability necessarily, just like confident in the animating force of everything, and confident in our own ability to allow it to come through us. But like, yeah, that space of surrendered confidence, what emerges in that space of creation. And so this is just a brief response to, first of all, say, I'm 100% on board with your idea for our theme for our next season to be creation. Absolutely. And also to just say, to just kind of offer my own like brief anecdotes, kind of in response to your share of, I had a session yesterday with a client that, again, to leave out any like identifying details and to keep this somewhat brief, this person had not, by their own admission, had not significantly expressed emotion in many years, but also knew that they wanted to and needed to. And midway through this session, when we were in the process of getting ready to turn them over from face down to face up, just decades of stored up, pent up emotion came pouring out, sobbing out, wailing out. And then, this person proceeded to, I was like, let it happen for as long as it needs to happen, exactly how it needs to happen, and just kind of held the space. And this person was also allowing their body to move like totally authentically in alignment with this release. What ended up happening is just like, well, basically the body work stopped. And that's kind of what I wanted to share about this, is like the co-creation that emerged is, oh, wait, what is all this stuff? What's all the touch for? What's all the body work for, if not to get us to here? And so, all right, we're here. We're staying here. And my client was able to like shift various positions and tell the truth with their body in various ways that continued to allow this much needed expression, long anticipated, long awaited expression. And when they came out of that session, just the things that they were describing about how they felt and just like the aliveness that they felt restored within themselves, it's just like, it's why I do this shit. It's like what I live for. And then a second story today, another like co-creation story. I have felt a little bit insecure the last couple days about the fact that like I'm feeling way better. It's just like every now and then like a coughing fit will kind of take me over and take me down. So I was a little nervous like this morning, thinking about going into these like 3 back-to-back sessions essentially. And when I was working with my first client this morning, one of the things that came up in our processing beforehand was kind of this principle of like what's needed in appropriate development in like infancy and very early, very young childhood, which is like the consistent physical and emotional presence of mother, and if and when, inevitably when, not if, when, because mother is a human, when that presence goes away for whatever reason, what is then needed is repair. So that process of rupture and repair, that is, the repair is instigated by mother towards baby, towards child. Not so much with words, but with energy and with essence. And so there was this moment on the table with this client where I was, sitting and was at their head doing some craniosacral, and I felt it. I felt the dreaded throat tickle pop up. And luckily I kind of took my hands off gently, slowly in time, and, was able to turn around and cough into my arm, and boy, did I cough into my arm. And then I got some water, and then I kind of settled it, felt it settle, and turned back in the direction of this client and kind of put my hands back on. And I don't know how long I was able to be in that position before I felt it come back. It came back. It came back again, just like this scratchy tickle in the throat. And I was like, oh no. And so again, I was able to slowly and gently remove my hands and turn, cough into my arm. And at this point, I'm like drinking my water, and I'm feeling the teensiest bit, like kind of frustrated for the briefest moment. And suddenly it clicks, and I realize that what is happening in this moment, like body to body, is that the body of my client is having this experience of the temporary and sudden absence of my presence. And the body of this client is also now having the experience of my return, not just with the reintroduction of my presence, but with the, intention I was holding was like the even deeper, even more focused infusion of my presence to them. And so I realized what was being enacted through this little tickle in my throat, this like repeated motion of like with and then away and then back with and then away and then back with, was the reattunement of this client's body to this expectation that repair would follow rupture, that when presence is withdrawn, presence will be put back And then it was like, after I realized that, I was like able to just like kind of tell my body like, okay, thank you. No more coughing. We're good. And like, I haven't been able to do that all week. And that's also when the emotion started coming up and coming out for my client on the table. And we processed it after the fact in our debrief, and I got to tell them about what that experience and moment was like from my perspective, and they got to tell me what it was like from their perspective, and it was like totally matched. And it was just like, yeah, really fascinating. And then this client like kind of finished by reflecting to me like through tears, like, how, like, does this just feel like the most, like, this job for you, does this just feel like the most like miraculous and amazing thing? And I was like, yes, it does. Actually, yes, it does. That's exactly how it feels, because I just kind of, like I said to you, Joan, just a minute ago, like that feeling of like, I'm good at what I do. I'm good at like strengthening my skill set. I'm good at like maintaining my presence. I'm good at all the things that I'm good at, so that I can allow to happen the things that have like nothing to do with me, that are way better than all the things that I'm good at. Like, I want to strengthen my container as much as I possibly can, so that I am ready and willing and able to hold and facilitate those moments, those like miraculous, like co-created with the universe, co-created with the divine, co-created with the animating force of everything, co-created with like, I live for that. I live for that. I saw a Rick Rubin video just yesterday where he says something to the effect of like, he's like a lazy workaholic, because he's like, most of the time I don't want to be doing anything. But the problem is that I live for these moments where like these moments where like revelation comes through, revelation strikes, where like, in the creative act, you're just kind of like searching and doing and looking and working and trying and you do that until bam, there it is. That's what we were looking for, and we didn't even know it until it arrived. And like, when we're talking about creation, that's what I feel like we're talking about when we're talking about creation. And I love that you shared the story about how that showed up for you and shows up for you in your work with bodies. So I wanted to share with you my stories about how that just today and just yesterday showed up for me in my work with bodies. And to also once again just reiterate and say that I am extremely stoked that we held a really good container. We like made a really beautiful, strong container for this season 4, all about pleasure. And from that container, from the container of pleasure, like you said, creation. Here we are. This is what we're doing next. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to drop in with you tomorrow for our next recording session to talk about this and see what comes up and see what comes through. I just love doing this with you. I love co-creating with you in so many ways. So thank you for the gift of allowing me to do it with you. And thank you for receiving my presence here in my desire to do it with you. That's all for now, I think. I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
This is Experiential Anatomy. Thanks for listening. I'm Joan Chan.
And I'm Jamie Lee Finch. Experiential Anatomy is co-hosted and created by us.
Amber Wyndham is the editor. Julia Wyndham is the supervising producer.
Senior producer is Elizabeth Wyndham.
Our theme music is Park Pier 3 by G's Guy.
If you have any thoughts, questions, or stories to share about this week's episode, email us at exanatomy@gmail.com.
Please follow, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. And remember to join us over at exanatomy.substack.com.
Experiential Anatomy is produced by Windhaven Productions.